Hello, Guru Nation. Welcome back to another episode of a Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. This one is special because it's live, okay, and it's interview with a self-made clinical research coordinator. I've got Alan here. Alan has been a viewer of the program, and we're going to get into Alan, his story, how he did it, tricks that he knows, tricks of the trade, and all that kind of stuff. So, Alan, first of all, thank you so much for reaching out to me on Instagram and after a live stream, and saying, hey, like this is like my story of how I became a coordinator. So thank you for reaching out and for doing that and doing this.
Yeah, no problem. It's helped so much, and I think other people could get into research, and it's the industry is just growing and growing, especially this COVID stuff, and I think
Yes.
just giving back
The
what I learned.
industry is growing. And by the way, if you guys have questions for Alan, put them in. Put them in. If it's Facebook, I don't know how to read it. But any questions for Alan? Oh, here we go. Comments. Yeah, so you can put comments, guys, here too. I think I'll be able to see them. So, Alan, before we get into like the specifics of how you got your job, because this everybody's curious about this. And by the way, guys, comments. All right, just give us a little background of who you are before you became a researcher, and then how did you even know that you wanted to do research? How did you even find out about research?
So I found out of research at a very young age. My brother, he worked for Quintiles before it was IQVIA, and he's about 13 years older than me, so he worked there when I was in high school, actually younger, about sixth or seventh, eighth grade. And I remember distinctly he would go to all these investigator meetings. He would go across the country, and the one I remember the most, he went to Louisiana, New Orleans. And he brought me back a little head of like an alligator or something. So I'm like, man, it's like, what does this guy do for his work? And so ever since then, I'm like, okay, I think that seems like a cool job. And funny enough, he's not in research anymore. But uh, before he was at IQVIA, he worked at a startup clinical research. I don't think it's in existence, but it was called Demuji Research. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, I haven't.
And they got bought up by Sidney Kimmel. So, and then after that merger, he went on to Quintiles at the time. And I think he was either a CTA or a CRC. I don't remember. I was very young, but
Okay.
that's who
So you
got
knew
me like
clinical
interested.
research was it's kind of rare because most people discover it on accident. You discovered it very early in your life.
Yeah.
And then what major, like you went to college, or did you go to school? Like what kind of educational background do you have? And were you always trying to pursue research, or were you just not sure what you wanted to do?
Um. So I went to college, and I didn't know I wanted to do research right then. A lot of people I feel that get into this, they apply to like med school, and I thought I wanted to do that, and I did the whole med school thing, whatever. But I'm glad I didn't get in, knowing now uh, all the work to be a physician. Um, but I got my degree in biophysics. I've always been interested in like science and experiments and stuff. But I one side that doctor thing didn't work out, so I graduated and I didn't know what to do, and so I remembered my brother's job, and I'm like, maybe I did college in Riverside, so there wasn't many jobs there, so I went back to San Diego, and I know there's a lot of biotech companies here. There's UCSD, there's a lot of hospitals and stuff, so I'm like, I should try to go into that industry. So I applied to all these pharmaceutical companies as like wet lab research. I didn't get in. Um, and then finally, I kind of gave up. And my mom works at a doctor's office. And so the doctor's office hired me as a MA.
Okay.
And so I always kind of had, wanted to work for like a pharmaceutical or do research. And I kind of gave up, but a little tip, and it's part of my story too. I would talk to the drug reps that came and saw the doctor and some of like home health people, and they gave me a tip. They're like, "Oh, we know this doctor who is has research clinic, and he also has a private practice. You know, you should reach out to him." And so I did, and I got hired there as an MA.
Hmm.
And then
Did you do any research with that guy? With that
not
PI?
not then, but the job I did there prepared me to do research. I was a biologics coordinator, so basically medicines like Humira, uh, Enbrel, what else? Basically, those medicines for autoimmune diseases that are biologics or basically proteins, monoclonal antibodies. I
Hmm.
would help patients get them for free. And when I started, interfacing with research is when insurances couldn't pay for uh, the the medicine, so patients couldn't pay because they're so expensive. We would uh, send them to the research studies because sometimes they would get the same medicine but for free just for participating. And
Mm-hmm.
so through there, finally, someone I think either lost a job or um, but the main reason I went there is, because I know they did research. I wanted to get my foot in the door, but it was really hard. I applied to a lot of places before, and I worked there as an MA, and then finally someone, quit or I forgot something. They got a new job, and I approached the owner of the company, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, we'll try you
Hmm.
out." And I started as a research assistant.
So that
About
right there is important. What you just said. I literally had a CRA Academy internship meetup. We do it every month, virtually right now, for the CRA interns. There's some people that are afraid of networking, and there's others that understand. Maybe they're afraid too, but they understand that networking is going to help them achieve their goals. And you seem to be, from your story, I mean, first of all, you know, who talks to drug reps when they're at like a medical assistant at a doctor's office? I mean, it takes like a different kind of personality to have these kind of conversations with drug reps. I mean, most people that work at doctor offices, drug rep come, you say hi, they bring you sandwich, you drink coffee. You used to shake hands because there was no COVID, and now, and then they go, and then you go do your job. You had different conversations. Like you showed an interest, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? This guy's doing research. This networking. This is what Alan did. Is networking. Didn't just fall out of the sky. He networked with people, and then at your other job, same exact thing, right? So, what what drove you to do that, as opposed to just sitting back and doing what you were supposed to do?
Yeah, well, I in my job I had troubles like specifically for the medications, getting them approved through certain insurances, and so I would talk to the drug reps. I'm like, how do other offices do it? Like I get stuck, and of course, they the more prescriptions get filled, the more the doctor writes of their medication. They do everything willing to help you, and then they saw, that I asked, and they were like really excited, and so they would, still to this day, I keep in touch with some of them. They're all over the country now, and the because we mutually helped each other. Like, I know that he's going to be motivated to help me get information to, get my patient's medication. Um, and then, maybe he's has, a job down the line. I don't know.
Hmm.
Something will come up. And so mainly it was thinking about the patient first, like helping them, because they have resources. There's the MSLs, there's the clinical nurse educators. Like the
Right.
hardest ones that the for internal medicine to get approved are the what do you call it? The insulins, because some insulins are super expensive. And so I would submit like this form, and not a lot of offices did that. Um, and because I submitted this form, they on the drug reps and the companies could see, hey, this doctor's office is using the resources we give them, the portals, and they're getting these scripts in. And so that's another thing that they noticed, and they didn't tell me to do that, but I was thinking, let and there was a lot of things. Pharmaceutical companies or patients who can't pay, they have like programs for them to get the medication for free, but the doctor's office has to sign you up, and a lot of them don't do it.
Yep.
And
Christine, shout
so,
out to Christine, Patreon member. She has a comment on LinkedIn. LinkedIn representing strong, like always. Instagram, what's going on? You're sleeping on a Friday night. I know it's a rainy day, but well, I don't know if it's rainy where you are. The drug reps are awesome.
yes,
Okay, let me show the question. I could show the question. This is cool, Alan. Look at this.
that's
It's like
pretty
TV show. The drug reps are awesome. I learned so much from them. Diagnosis, commercial insurance coverage, pharmacy protocols. The list goes on. I mean, this is absolutely true. I have dealt with the drug reps. See, I had always had a job like a research coordinator, then a site owner. But these drug reps, very similar to you, Alan. I was networking with them. You're not supposed to network with them. They're
cool.
there to talk to the doctor, not to talk to you. But I was there. Hey, uh, does your company have studies? Put me in touch with your medical science liaison. Or hey, I'm looking for a respiratory specialist. Who's your colleagues that does like those kind of stuff? And so this is how you network. Drug reps are amazing people. They like to talk. They don't want to just come bring
Mm,
sandwiches and leave. Or bring pens. They used to bring pens. Now they don't have pens anymore. So how did you get from there, Alan, to where you are now? And where are you now? It looks very busy behind you. It looks
yes,
like you know what you're doing based on where you're sitting.
Rady
Uh,
Children's Hospital, San Diego.
okay, and you're full-time study coordinator.
Hmm.
Now, how did you get this job? Because those kind of jobs are hard to get at the kind of institutions that you're at.
So, after I was so when I was the clinical research assistant, someone else left at the office. It was a mom and pop. There was high attrition. I think that's common for a lot of sites, especially in this area, because we would all fight for the same patients. So coordinators would leave to another site, or they get experience and leave. So I saw an opening, and I approached the owner again, and it's like, hey, I didn't come here to be a research assistant. I came here to be a coordinator. I came here to learn. And so they're like, first they gave me a trial, like uh, since I was so familiar with the medications, I knew them, like the back of my hand. They made me the unblinded pharmacist for all the studies,
Ah,
even though I'm
okay.
not a pharmacist, but I handled, all the unblinded pharmacist stuff, and I
Right.
learned so much.
That's such
And
a
then
foreign
finally,
concept to non-researchers,
yeah,
because every study needs a pharmacist, but it's what they mean by that is not a licensed pharmacist
mhm,
necessarily. It's just somebody managing the IP. And like
exactly.
you said, a lot of blinded studies, the staff needs to remain blinded, so you can only have one unblinded person. All they can do is the IP. So that's what you were doing.
Yeah, and then once I did a good job at that, I would also train patients to inject if it was like a self-injectable. They're like, all right, we're going to give you the studies, and they were challenged. There was a lot of cleanup to do, and so I got them to as much as I could, back in order, working with the CRAs. They would train me and stuff like on the protocols one-on-one when they would do their monitoring visits, and so I knew after I had about 1 year experience, I could start, applying to other places that, are better paying and more prestigious research.
Hmm.
And so I started applying to UCSD, the Morse Cancer Center, and I did it. I think I interviewed about 12 times, and they would interview me, and then I would go to second interviews, but 12 times they just, gave up. And so I knew my resume was good, and because I kept getting calls like right away, but either something was off of me, or and I felt like I was very confident, so I'm like, eventually one has to come. So I applied to Rady's Children's Hospital, and they called me right away, and I interviewed, and I got the job.
Wow. And then so how long have you been where you're currently at?
About a year.
Okay. And Christine says, "Wow, Alan, we have a lot in common career-wise. I started as an unmasked CRC, so unblinded CRC for an
Oh yeah.
ophthalmology practice. So yeah, this is how like this is a and I'm glad Christine and Alan, you guys both brought this up. that's like a role that sites need, and they don't really have anyone to do it usually, right?
Hmm.
But how did you get the interview? Like, how much did you have to network? Did you have to persevere? Did you have to tweak your resume? Did you have to like brush up on things on YouTube, or maybe not? I don't know. What did you do?
So the main trick is that I have a resume. I have a CV that I send out to the pharmaceutical companies to, show them my experience. And then I have my resume with like, more detailed descriptions of my past jobs, what I did. And so I would include both. But on my CV, it has like, because I was unblinded, I had like 40 to 50 studies. And so they saw that experience and right away they're like, oh my God. And then um, they would always ask me like, "Dang, you did a lot of stuff," and yeah, I was involved in a lot. And even if even it's kind of a, not a dirty trick, but let's say if I was just, sometimes they would approach us for studies, and then I remember this one time we did the SIV, um, and we never started the study finish, before. Um, Before we got activated, but we still had IP and stuff, and I was managing it. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put this on my resume, on my CV. I mean, so the main thing was like putting as much studies as you can on your CV and like list them out, like what the drug was, the pharmaceutical company, protocol name, number, um, and then I didn't put the role, but I put a bunch. I have a bunch on there, and so that was like the hook, and to reel them in was in person. It wasn't much networking, as so much as more like brute force. I sent out a lot of applications,
Hmm.
and I knew eventually one would hit.
And it did, right? How many interviews did you do? And did you get rejected, or did you not get rejected to any?
I got rejected at least 20 times.
20 times
Yeah,
for
from
study
different
coordinator.
places. Yeah.
For study coordinator or different things?
Mainly for study coordinator.
20 times, and you continue to go back. How did you feel? Because most people would have given up. Most people do give up after three. They're like, obviously there's something wrong with me. To be a coordinator requires something that I'm not. What made you not give up?
I had a feeling that it wasn't me. It was just something internally, especially for the bigger companies,
Mm.
or it was like a little thing. Like I remember one time they didn't give me the role because I didn't have a phlebotomy license or CNA. I'm like, I told them I'm not going to go back to school unless you guys pay for it for a phlebotomy. But little things like that, or
Hmm. So some places
but
wanted you to draw blood.
yeah.
I see. Okay, so it was always like a little thing. It was never like a major
Mm.
issues. So that's what kind of kept you going and persevering. And then finally you got this interview. How did it go? Like, what did they ask you?
Oh, and
Uh,
another thing too, I would talk to the CRAs and ask them advice, like just because I know to get those positions too, there's a lot of interviewing and stuff. And I would tell them my situation. They'd be like, "No, keep applying. You have good experience. You're gonna make a good study coordinator."
hmm.
And I actually saw one of the CRAs for my old job here. She was doing a SIV, and she saw me and she's like, "I knew you would be a good study coordinator. I'm so glad to see you." And it
That's
was totally
awesome.
random. And
By the
but
way,
we're
random question,
yeah,
Alan. Do you have an iPhone or Android? I have to know.
yes, iPhone.
Okay. Do you know about Clubhouse? Are you on Clubhouse?
I'm not.
You're a networker, man. And so, me and Christine, whose question you see here on the screen, she's in my Patreon channel, Patreon member, Christine. Uh, we're joined Clubhouse like at the same time. Like I was one day before her. It's great for B2B. There's so many big pharma on there. If you
Hmm.
want to do B2B networking, I mean, you have your headphones on, right? Nobody can hear like our plans. But like networking, B2B, all this kind of stuff, Clubhouse is really good for that. So if you want the invite, let me know, Or Christine. Look, Christine, you guys need to network. Christine's going to invite you,
Yeah, I'll
Alan.
add
I
her
think you're
too.
gonna benefit, man.
Oh, that sounds cool. I didn't. I've heard about it, but I wasn't sure what it was. But I'm
I
all
never
into
thought
social media.
pharma research is always late to these things, but for this one, they were early. It came from J.P. Morgan conference, and that's all like big pharma execs, and they said, "Hey, let's Clubhouse is out now. Let's just continue on Clubhouse." And so now you have all these rooms. I've only done a room once. I'm literally just got on it this week, but to all my Patreon members, I let them know, and two of them are already in it and using it and getting benefits out of it. So, Christine Naro, I'll connect you to her LinkedIn after this show, and
Awesome.
then you guys on Instagram, let me know. We got questions from a self-made coordinator. Um, what so during the interview, like, did they try to trick you and ask you things that you wouldn't know, or how did that go?
Each place was a little different. I One of my pharmaceutical rep friends, I was actually applying for that job too
Oh,
at the
you were
same
trying to be a
time.
pharmaceutical sales rep also?
Yeah, and I would get interviews
Man,
for that too.
imagine if you went down that rabbit hole.
Those and I got very close, very very close, but
Ooh,
those were the hardest interviews ever. They would ask you sales questions, but that book, I forgot the name. I have it at home, but they recommend me a book, and it has like hundreds of questions, and I would
this is the
practice.
only book you need, guys. This
Yeah.
one. But it wasn't this book, right? This wasn't a sales book. Um, okay, so sales rep almost. All right, so that no wonder you have and in research people don't think of it as sales, but you do need sales skills in research as well. So what's your career goals? What are your career goals going forward? You know, what kind of things do you aspire to do?
So I am right now in between two things. So either I stick with research and keep moving up, either at my organization, there's a lot of opportunities here, or go back to school for physician assistant.
Oh, you might be PA.
Yeah, and then I feel like the research background would not a lot of them have it, so
Nope.
I'll be very versatile. Um,
You
and
truly would be
then
a generalist.
yes, and then after if I do the PA, specialize or eventually get into MSL roles.
Medical science liaison.
Yeah, medical science liaison.
Gotcha, gotcha. We
The
got a
medical
question from
affairs.
Christine. When you list the studies on your CV, because you were talking about CVs earlier, when you list the studies on your CV, do you recommend listing them under a comprehensive list, or did you separate them by company?
Comprehensive list. Let me see if I have it. One second.
Okay, we're gonna wait. We're waiting for Alan to get his CV. He has it under his desk. This is unplanned. Okay, but Alan, we're on
I don't have it
Instagram.
with me, but I could share it with anyone. Um,
Okay,
but it's like a big list that has like my certifications, degree on top, current position, and then at the bottom it says research experience, and then just comprehensive everything you could remember that you did, but not
okay,
specific roles, just the studies you participated in.
okay. And what kind of studies do you do right now?
Right now, um, NIH phase one. What else? Phase two, phase three. No post marketing studies.
Okay. Man, yeah, the PA thing gets me excited too because I think you will be versatile and you could be a sub investigator too. Not only
Yes.
that, you can like own your own site, and if you a clinician, because at that point you're a clinician, you can have the patient population for your studies too. So I think there's a lot. It'll be exciting to follow your career. Where do you want people to follow you, to connect with you, if at all? Or maybe you don't want anybody to connect.
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram. Uh, it's Hadron, like the what do you call it? The half of a molecule or part of the nucleus. So HADRON underscore one on Instagram. I do have a YouTube. Right now, it's mainly gaming, but when I go to
Oh, you
investigator
game.
meetings, I
What
do
kind of
post
games do you
videos.
do? I go like
It's
Mario Maker.
yeah, and so Alan Guevara, my first and last name, pretty easy. So usually, if you just type in my name, you'll find my stuff.
Yeah, okay. So I'll put the link to the LinkedIn profile underneath. Didn't know you were a gamer. I used to do like a fair amount of StarCraft back in the day. Always went with the Terrans. You always gotta go with the ones that are similar to yourself, right? So
Yeah,
I just had more empathy for them.
yeah.
Uh, Thank you, Alan. Anyone else have questions? Let us know. Now is your chance. Now is your only opportunity. Well, no, you can take this to LinkedIn. You can connect with Alan there. But we go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday unless I'm monitoring. And today we're combining an interview with a live stream because I actually did do a live stream earlier, but it wasn't like a full one. So we had to go give people the full hour long, face to face time. And a lot of the CRA Academy students I know are going to be watching this. So last chance, ask questions to a self-made clinical research coordinator. Cilantro Beats, I see you. Forward clinical researcher, I see you. Taylor Wilson, I see you. Otherwise, we're going to let Alan go because he's still at work and he's probably got to go home, man. Are you done? What are you doing working so late on Friday? Is this normal?
I have a phase one study. It's very
Oh,
complicated. This is my first time, and so um, working at a hospital, it's totally different than at
oh
a
yeah.
research site. So there's a lot of moving parts.
People don't
Even
understand that. They think it's all the same. It's
no,
completely different.
and um, even the people who've been here for years haven't done it. This medication is like so new and so crazy. Um,
Mhm.
the results we're getting, but also the risk. So they're not even sure what to do sometimes. So uh,
Okay.
it's just on the fly. So still getting ready for next week.
Well, Alan, we appreciate it, man. Everybody go follow Alan on LinkedIn. I'm gonna have his LinkedIn. Christine's gonna get you on Clubhouse, and then make sure you follow me. And let's start like a room. Start doing some B2B, some networking, some good old fashioned networking for the old 2021.
And I know you guys didn't ask me this, but here's a pro tip. Um, Even though we're research people, we're still considered medical people. So if you're pros to drug reps, a lot of times they have dinner programs to learn about their medications that they represent. And so I went to every single one I could. I There's usually really nice ones too. So I've been to like all the top steakhouses in San Diego County. Um,
Yes,
and
yummy.
sometimes there's other doctors there who are PIs or who are potential PIs, or the MSLs will be there, or the pharmacists, medical affairs people, regulatory. Um,
Hmm.
that's a very, very good place to go. And I know some people that are like in the academic setting are not able to beat those ones, but um, also if you talk to like specialty pharmacists too, they also get invited to those as well.
That's right. That's right. Alan, you're welcome to stay. If you gotta go, I
Yeah.
understand. I'm gonna keep going live for a little bit because we got more questions coming. So whatever you need to do, Alan, it's fine
Okay.
with me. Okay. Uh, what should a beginner know about being a CRC before starting the position at a site? Alan, you wanna take that one?
Beginners should know, uh, I would say, organization skills,
Hearts, hearts, hearts.
uh, and also ask a lot of questions because
I had
I've
a, I had a, I had a question on Instagram today, and these questions. I mean, okay, I'm gonna write it so that people can see the question. So let me hide this uh, question because it's kind of related, but I'm gonna add our own. Okay, so uh, it's about how do you keep yourself organized as a CRC when you have multiple studies. Uh, and so in my opinion, it boils down to prioritization. Prior, what's the word I'm trying to say? Prioritizing it.
prioritization.
Yeah, it's been a long day. How do you keep yourself organized as a CRC? So, what do you think? Let's put this one on there. How do you keep yourself organized as a CRC? You personally, Alan, if you want to answer that one.
We have like a shared drive, so each study has their own folder, and we try to mirror the ICF, the investigator site file, and then everything source docs, has its own folder. Patient specific documents have their own folder. Like all the like the flyers and stuff, the recruitment material has its own folders. IRB submissions has its own folders. So, like, is if you could subdivide and make it easy, that if you got to make it to the point where someone who doesn't know the study could go in there and figure out like where everything is and what is what. So like labeling things, um, and also we have like Excel spreadsheets of all the study points we need to do in order to stay on track. That helps too.
And you have to know. Sorry, Alan, we lost it. The connection was horrible for me,
Yeah.
but we're back. Um, to me, it's prioritization. For you, it's similar, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit different for the studies that are sponsored by like grants or like the NIH or something like the government. So there's no monitoring or EDC, queries, but those you could, uh, you know, more you have more leeway to do it how you want. But when it's a pharmaceutical or medical device type of thing, you gotta prioritize those first because there are deadlines that they have to meet for data. So yeah,
Okay.
if that makes sense, I don't know.
No, it does make sense. It makes plenty of sense. Okay, any more questions? What was your biggest fear? What was your biggest fear or challenge when you started, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest fear was not uh, able to get in at all. Like maybe they kept seeing this guy, because I was pretty aggressive. I would go to this one research site that was right next to me, like once a week, and they kind of got annoyed. So I never. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want me there. And biggest challenge was just to get my foot in the door.
Yeah, for me, the biggest fear was, man, I was terrified of my monitors. Um, when I started coordinating, I was terrified of my monitors. So I didn't know anything of what I was doing. So I didn't want to talk to them even. Like they came in, I gave them the books. I got out of there. I asked them if they wanted a sandwich. Maybe I would like try to bribe them. Um, and then my biggest challenge was dealing with business partners later. But as a coordinator, my biggest challenge was um, following the protocols when you have many protocols going on at once. That was my biggest challenge. Good question, though. Good, very good question. And I think we asked this one already. Anyone else got questions? Otherwise, we're gonna let it go. I'll end the Facebook. Facebook, thank you guys. LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope. Let me know what you're thinking. What you got going on? Do you drink coffee in the mornings, Alan? How do you keep yourself like going? Like, what's your working hours?
9 through 5, but sometimes I come in a little bit later, but I
Mm-hmm.
stay later, like today. Um, I don't really eat breakfast unless there's like something good. If my sister made something, but no coffee, not regularly. Yeah.
Yeah, I depend on it. Okay, very good. So, anyone else? Doesn't look like anymore, but thank you so much, Alan, for your time. I really appreciate that. We're gonna get this up on all the platforms. We're gonna do the podcast. Thank you so much. Let's stay in touch because the PA thing could be a good option. It'll be interesting to like get to know you and network with one another. So
Yeah,
thank
for
you very
sure.
much, Alan.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take it
Thank
easy.
you everyone for watching, listening. Links to Alan's LinkedIn underneath. And by the time you're watching this, we're probably building empires on Clubhouse. So you better get on Clubhouse somehow. Don't ask me for an invite. I don't know really how to do that, but get on Clubhouse, guys. Okay. Oh, one more question. Question for you, Dan. You mentioned your challenge of following protocols. How did you organize them? What I did, this is crazy. I don't do it now because I don't coordinate, but I would have huge posters and I would draw flowcharts for each protocol. I would like deconstruct the protocol and say, ICF number one. Did they sign? Yes. Go to the next step. Did they not sign? No. Why? Or screen fill. And then I would just follow that. And I created this because so this is how I learned the protocol. Two things. I learned the protocol and because if you're creating this flowchart, you really have to understand something. So it's not a waste of time for me. And then number two, kept me compliant and my staff. When I brought on an assistant, let's say I was drinking coffee, right? I was late, or I went across the street at the donut shop to get a coffee. My assistant can follow the flowchart. Okay, look, I wrote it for you. So that's how I did it. But good question. Nancy, CRC Academy. Let's give Nancy a shout out. CRC Academy going strong. Hopefully everything's going well with Monica and the CRC Academy. But thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the questions. Alan, you gotta go, man.
Yeah,
You're gonna
I'm
put
out of
in
here.
overtime soon, so I appreciate it.
Later.
Later, guys.